Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. In today's episode, we got an interesting one for you guys, so you definitely want to stick around for this one. Now, going into the Nets versus Brooklyn series or game, right? I actually thought that it was going to be one of the two most exciting first-round series for these particular playoffs. I thought the other series was going to be between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And after watching game one, I think all of us can agree that that series is going to be pure electricity and drama. It was chippy in game one. You saw Karl Anthony Towns dunking on dudes, so I cannot wait to watch the rest of that series. But I thought the other series was going to be that between the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. It was the one that I really marked on my calendar. And I think it was right before the playoffs on Saturday, we actually did a live, and during that live, towards the end of that live, we were doing various playoff first-round predictions, and in that live, I predicted that the Boston Celtics were going to beat the Brooklyn Nets in 7 games, right? And I gave my reasons for that, but it also seems as if one person who I actually forgot about also picked the Boston Celtics to beat the Brooklyn Nets, and that person was Shannon Sharpe. So for those of you who missed, some of the things that he had to say, and basically his reasoning as to why he decided to go with the Boston Celtics over the Brooklyn Nets on Undisputed a few days ago, or just 1 or 2 days ago. Take a listen to some of what he had to say here. Then we're going to come back and really unpack this thing and really get into the nitty-gritty of this particular series. So take a listen to some of the things that he had to say there.
Who do you think wins here, Celtics or Nets?
I'm still taking the Celtics because I believe the Celtics are a better team. Now, obviously, the Brooklyn Nets have the two best players in KD and Kyrie, but Jason Tatum will probably be first-team All-NBA, probably going to get some MVP votes, and Jaylen Brown is nothing to sneeze at. I just think the thing is, from top to bottom, the Celtics have the better team. I'm not so sure Udoka isn't a better coach than Steve Nash. And so with that, I'm going to take them. And I think they're a better defensive team. I haven't loved the Nets defensively all year long. We know the firepower that they possess offensively, and that's what makes them so unique and very difficult to deal with. They got 59 points, 23 assists from KD and Kyrie last night and still only won by 7 points. They were up at one point, 40-25, 40-20 in the first quarter, and then they scored 17 points in the second quarter and let the Cavs get back into the ball game. I would like to think that the Celtics are deeper, are a better better basketball team.
Sometimes they're a good football team.
Than the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, because basically last night, the only really thing they had going was Garland. And Garland was really good last night.
I told you.
He can get any shot that he wants. He missed some bunnies.
And where did he go to college?
I don't know where he went to school.
He went to Vanderbilt University.
Oh, he's a clutch client.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's a clutch. And what did I predict? I said he averaged 25 over the last 21 games. I said he'll score 35. He got to 34.
He got to 34. And so I just think they gave up 65 second-half points. Now, what we've seen from the Boston Celtics over the last 30-plus ball game has been total domination. They go 26-6, and they win so many of those games by 20-plus points. They're not just beating people. They're beating people up. They're taking them apart. They're the best defensive team in all of basketball. So when you combine that number one defensive team and two guys that can go get you 30 each, because, Skip, I believe to a certain degree, as long as you play within 5 to 10 of KD and Kyrie, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, now you bring the others. Okay, Smart. Okay, Al Horford. Okay, Tice. For White. I think White is there. I think White, the guy from San Antonio.
Derek White, yeah.
Derek White.
No, he's definitely in that 8-man rotation. Yeah.
That's what you're going to have to do. You can't make it a 2-man contest. You got to hopefully you can stay within 5 to 10 of what KD and Kyrie does with Tatum and Brown.
Yep.
And now you bring the others, because I believe the Celtics others are better than the Nets others. I believe Udoka is a better.
Listen, I think Shannon Sharpe is absolutely right. He's absolutely right on all fronts. He made a lot of great points. And what I want to do is expand on some of the things that he said. Number one, the Boston Celtics have just as much offensive talent as the Brooklyn Nets. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are very talented offensive players. They are. So I always believed that the Boston Celtics were going to be able to generate enough points to stay competitive with the Brooklyn Nets. This is not the Brooklyn Nets of when they had Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, where you had a big three that on any given night can hit you up for 75. Actually, they were averaging about 75 points a game together. But on any given night, they can hit you up for about 75 to 80 points on a given night, right? They don't have that type of offensive firepower on the floor with the absence of James Harden. Even if you say, well, James Harden is not what he used to be. Even if he's a 20-point per game scorer, he can still add a lot of offensive fire to that team, and he can still get hot for 30 points on any given night. So I thought that the Boston Celtics would have enough offensive firepower to stay with them. But I really also felt as if that this Boston Celtics team was going to force Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, who have never made an all-defensive team, but are very improved defensive players, they were going to force them to have to play defense. You weren't going to get a scenario in which, like what we saw in the play-in game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where basically they could just go out there and score as many points they want on offense and pretty much rest on defense because there was no one out there that would be able to score enough points or threaten them to go out there and score 45, 50 points. They didn't have that. With the Boston Celtics, you have to play defense. Otherwise, these guys are going to get you. And that means that a lot of these Nets players are going to have to use up a lot of energy to be able to remain competitive in this series. But the number one reason I gave the Boston Celtics the edge, and I think that's one of the things that Shannon Sharpe alluded to, was because of their defense. Was simply because of their defense. The Boston Celtics were the number one rated defensive team in the NBA, and it showed in game one. Think about this. That defense held Kevin freaking Durant to 20% shooting in the first half and caused him to have 5 turnovers. For the game, Kevin Durant shot 37.5% from the floor and had 6 turnovers. In the first half, they limited Kyrie to 6 shot attempts because they were constantly pressuring the ball. When was the last time you saw in an NBA game where Kevin Durant scored or shot less than 40% in an NBA game? I cannot remember the time that happened. So that just goes to show you how potent of a defense they had. Period. End of story. And the reason why I keep harping on anchoring my arguments on the defense is for what we saw in the end of the game. With less than 2 minutes to go, the Boston Celtics were down 5 points, and what happened? Their defense was able to get them 2 consecutive stops where they can go out there and score, and they gave themselves an opportunity to win that game in the end, and that's exactly what they did. Their defense kept them in that game, and that was something that I even posted on. I think we posted this on the channel. I think it was in the first quarter or early in the game. I posted this on the community, and I said, and I'll read it to you, I said, this was my biggest fear with Brooklyn. What happens when you stop making shots? Can your defense keep you in games? We shall see still early. Defense is going to be a major component of the series. Another one is going to be size and rebounding. The Brooklyn Nets were out-rebounded, I believe, by 14 rebounds yesterday. And 14 rebounds. No. Is it 14 or, about 14 or 13 rebounds or so. And the Boston Celtics had what? I think they had 11 more or something like that. They had 11 more shot attempts in that game. Well, if you give yourself 11 more opportunities to make that game, all they needed was one extra basket. And that's exactly what they had at the end of the game. And that's what won the game. The Boston Celtics are a very, very good team. I think a lot of people were just looking at the names and like, oh, well, you have Kevin Durant, you have Kyrie Irving, which is important. And I said, you will not be able to stop these guys. What you have to do is make them less efficient. And in last night's game, although Kyrie Irving, I think he shot over 50 or 60%, Kevin Durant shot below 40. So they were able to neutralize at least one of their stars. And it's one of the reasons why Charles Barkley said for these guys to win a series, they need to have 4 perfect games. So to me, I think Shannon Sharpe was right for picking the Boston Celtics. And I think that yesterday you just got a glimpse of what they, just how potent that defense could be. And I think is one of the reasons that they need Ben Simmons back desperately. Because Ben Simmons gives this this Brooklyn Nets team 2 things that they need. Number one, they give them a defender, an all-world defender that can pretty much switch on anything. That's number one. And you can put him on a particular player for a series and just say, go guard that guy all series long. That's the one thing. The second thing that he will do for them if they have him available on the court is help them with their transition offense. He can spark fast breaks. He's a one-man fast break. He can get a lot of the Brooklyn Nets players easy shots in transition, whether it's corner threes or them running to the rim. That's another thing that he can do that they just don't have, and it allows them to get easy opportunities against a defense that's not set. Whenever Boston sets their defense, that's when they're really tough to beat. So these are things that I think we need to look forward to, but I think Shannon Sharpe is right so far. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about Shannon Sharpe's prediction? What do you think about my analysis? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we'll definitely catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.